Good evening, YouTube viewers and subscribers. So it's been a while since I've done a virgin box opening here. What's inside this box is something I never really thought I would own, and a few days ago when I saw it listed on RC Groups, if I had coffee or beer or whatever in my mouth, I spit it out immediately because I was like, holy crap, one of these is available. So I figured I really shouldn't be spending money on myself again or buying more damn engines, but since my tax return came, I said, what the hell, and the price was right, so I bought it. And you are going to see it for the first time as I am. So the first thing is some printouts of the Scepter engine flight review of this engine, and some manual covering the engine, which I'm not going to show you because that'll kind of give it all away. Looks like a very well packaged box. Very nice box I can use to send to somebody else. There you go, Chloe, try and fit in that or play with those. Okay, let's see what we got here. Besides a lot of bubble wrap. And here it is. A very rare, seldom seen engine. That being a Saito FA-130T engine. Now, I don't know exactly what year this engine came out, but by the review that Clarence Lee wrote of it, it seems to me that this engine was initially released about the same time or right after the original FA-65 with the air bleed carb was, because there's mention of that in there, which was probably in the late 80s, 88, 89 maybe. Now I don't know if that's how old this particular engine is, but that's when this thing first came out. So as you can see, this is not a boxer. This is still an odd fire twin. Quite potentially it could be the third one Saito ever made. I mean, they did the 80T, then the 90T, and maybe the 270 was the 270 was the first boxer. Maybe this was the first larger odd fire twin cylinder engine, but it looks to me like it's in pretty good shape. I don't know much about the history of this thing, although I do see some marking here on the prop drive, which kind of sucks, but I think I might be able to buff that out. There aren't glow plugs in this engine, but it is a dual plug engine. Here's the rear hole, and the front hole, it looks like, has got a bronze bushed, which is interesting. Why wouldn't they do that on the rear also? I don't know. This item here is an air pump. The 100T, the 80T and 90Ts used a vane type pump to circulate oil throughout the engine. The 100T later versions had a similar type of thing, but the 100T I had did not have this. This is basically just to help oil circulation through the engine, and that's it. It can be removed, and it may be removed depending on the health of the diaphragm that's in there. But overall, this engine looks like it's in pretty damn good shape, which is kind of why I bought it. Honestly, I wouldn't have taken a chance on this had it not at least looked very good on the pictures, because spare parts for this thing are pretty much impossible to get. Now, the thing that's really interesting about this engine is it is a dual carb, but it has a very different mounting means of mounting these carbs and the way they're angled. They're kind of facing each other here at maybe roughly a 45-degree angle, but it's hard to see with this in the way. There is a piece of steel right here, a spacer, that goes in between these two
And the purpose of that piece of metal there, if I put it that way you can see it better, is to keep these carbs from competing for air intake, so that one is not drawing more than the other. So that's just kind of a baffle in there that's designed to help keep that from happening.
But I mean, this is how it came from the factory. Now, whether these are still the stock and the original exhaust, but this is, it didn't have a flex exhaust on the review. It had these nice long headers like this. So I'm super psyched about this engine. I want to throw some glow plugs in here and see how it really feels. The person I bought it from on RC Groups said he bought it from a fellow that had it in like a quarter scale Cub, and then he bought it and never did anything with it. He just put it in a box and eventually decided to sell it. But there's also another unique thing here, is these intake manifolds. Look at how they're shaped. I mean, like I said, parts for this, replacement parts for this engine are basically non-existent. So this is definitely not something I want to go screwing around with too much, because if anything goes wrong with it, it just became a doorstop. Now, this intake manifold does have a nipple on here, and this serves the purpose of allowing you to prime the engine, which is why there's this plug in here too. Basically, you prime the engine, then you plug this thing up so you don't have a vacuum leak or an air leak, because there's no choke mechanism here for these carbs. So, very interesting engine. Don't know when I'm going to get around to getting it on the stand, but this is it. A really nice example of a very early Saito FA-130T odd fire engine. Thank you for watching.